doing? The Hangout is live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the SNEWS, where Dylan and I tell you what you should believe, when you should believe it, and how you should believe it. So this is the December SNEWS. We're going to talk about predominantly The Walking Dead. We have a couple of other little things to talk about before we get into that. But as usual, let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Dylan Lang. Good evening, Dylan.
Good evening, Tony, and everybody out there watching with us today. I also would like to introduce, well, not introduce because everybody knows them, but our other co-host for today is the wondrous Kelly Thul. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Dylan. Hey, Tony. Hey, everybody. It's Kelly Thul at KELLYTHUL on Twitter, and I'm bringing the pretty because that's what I do.
Every day, it's hard.
I actually introduced myself that way in a meeting today, and shockingly enough, people didn't buy it. So.
I know it's a tough burden. I see how you struggle with it day in and day out, and I feel for you. If you weren't as pretty as you were, maybe things could be a little bit more normal for you. But it's a tough burden.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, my eyes are up here. Okay.
Oh. And I already opened up my drink, dude. I already opened up my drink. I can't lift it up and hold it up to the screen. Well, I can do this. This is where I want to get Kelly. This is where I want to get Kelly.
Oh,
under the mistletoe. As usual, we have the birthdays for the coming month, and that is a job. That, although it is relegated to Dylan, want to throw out a big thank you to Laura Norman, who, month after month, never forgets to have the birthdays ready for us, and month after month forgets to include Dylan in the email, so I always have to forward it to him.
The long-standing tradition, Dylan.
Yes.
Don't feel bad about it.
So I just wanted to throw that out there, and Dylan, take it away.
All right. I totally forgot about this, but the first birthday is December 12th, which is my daughter's birthday also, but it's also my co-host on Dylan Knows Comics, MJ Khan's birthday. So happy birthday to MJ on December 12th. I'll have to remember to mention that to him on Sunday when we're together. Next up, December 16th is Mr. Glenn Portman, who's always able to make me laugh sometimes when I'm feeling blue, because he's got some wicked sense of humor. And then December 25th is Baby Jesus' birthday, so happy birthday, Baby Jesus.
Big fan of the show.
Absolutely. And then on December 27th, we have all of our favorite Mel, Karmic 9 Mel, your co-host, Kelly. So happy birthday to Mel. And the 28th, we have a dual birthday. One really famous, and
I love a good duel. I love a good duel. When was the last time there was a good duel?
I know, not a good one. We have one really famous person and one really good-dressed person. The good-dressed person is Mr. Gerald Webb's birthday. Is December 28th with the Tool Couture line that he and Kelly have created. And also the very famous Shirley, Sesame Squirrel, is on there as well, both of them December 28th. And then New Year's Eve, we've got Julia's birthday. Wow. Happy birthday, Julia. And Patrick Green's birthday. Then we jump into January real quick when we've got, on January 1st, we've got Christina, Golden Girl 1975's birthday, and we wrap up this version of the birthdays for the SNEWS on January 6th with Crunch Ops' birthday, Sean, who's having a pretty good year in fantasy. Am I right?
I think
so.
Gotta just keep going. Just
bring the show to a big stop by just bringing up fantasy football, where I've been talking to a lot of people that are into fantasy, and not in Yahoo leagues, but in other leagues too, and it seems like everybody I know is either having a phenomenal year or having the crappiest year ever. Um, and it's just mediocrity, I think. Um, I don't understand it. But anyway, there are two pieces of news. The first piece of news, and as a surprise, I didn't talk to these guys about it beforehand, but there has been a re-emergence of The Assistant, which happens to be my personal favorite web show of all times. Better than Snark Alec Radio, better than Dylan Knows, um, because most of the time the episodes are 3 or 4 minutes long. Every once in a while we get one that's a little bit longer. But if you haven't seen The Assistant, it's in season 2. It just started. And I know Kelly's also a big fan.
Indeed, I am. Good to see most of the cast is back.
With some additions, with some additional props that I am green with envy over. That sonic screwdriver is freaking awesome. But that really flipped my lid. But when the first season was on, I hadn't seen a lot of Doctor Who, so I didn't understand a lot of it. Where there was Doctor Who references. I like it better now that I'm all caught up, and the Doctor is great. I love the show. I still have to finish watching the last episode, but I'm fully caught up. And hey, if you're not watching Doctor Who and you have Netflix, you can go back and you can watch everything. You can binge it like I did. I watched it all summer long, like there was nothing on TV. I was nailing 2 and 3 episodes a night, sometimes. So it really is good. But what's your opinion on The Assistant, Dylan? We haven't heard you say anything about it.
Honestly, not really a big fan of it. I think it's mediocre.
And how often do you think there might be some new?
Well, this season's a little bit different because the idea came to me rather quickly, and I spent about, I don't know, maybe half an hour after I got the idea just writing stuff down. So now it's just a matter of finding time and doing it. I will tell you this, and you guys probably aren't going to like this. It's not going to be quite as many episodes as season 1 is. It really depends more on my timing, because that was one of the reasons that got me trapped up with ending season 1 as abruptly as I did, because I just ran out of time. So I've got a lot of really fun. I'm really more excited about it than I was the first season, because I had a great idea for the first season and it sort of petered out, but now I've got an even better idea for this season, and I'm really, really excited for you guys to see it. I am going to spread it out a little longer. You might only see a few episodes a month, but that could all change. I mean, it's really up to my timing and getting stuff done. Keep watching. It is going to be extremely different and interesting than the previous season, and I'd like to think it's going to be a bit more action oriented. So, thanks for watching, you guys. I still love your talking to ass.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Those guys are great. I've always
yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify, when the idea came to you, Dylan, you weren't like stripping paint or involved with heavy fuming. There were no like major fumes involved when the idea came.
I was driving with my son, so.
Okay, well, good.
I actually drove past Rosewood, is actually where it was. So I happened to drive past. I was like, "Whoa, wait a second," and then, boom, just like that.
Lots of people have ideas when they're driving in their cars. The next little piece of news or idea that I'm going to throw out there is, and Kelly can probably attest to this because way back in the days of Snark Alec Radio, I was trying to figure out a way of getting anybody who's interested in playing a first-person shooter game. Um, having a night or two where people can get online and kill each other. There is a possibility. I found a game. The only thing I'm still trying to work out is if I have a way of hosting a server. And if not, there are servers that we can go to and play on. But I found something. It's like one of the best kept secrets on the internet almost, because I'm not the only one that knows about it. And so what I want to do is find out how much interest there might be if anybody wants to play a first-person shooter type game, kind of like Call of Duty, or Medal of Honor, or any of the Battlefield games. Now, this game is a little bit older. It doesn't have such great graphics, but the beautiful thing is that this game will run on any computer that runs Linux, Mac, and XP and later. So if you've got a crappy old computer in your house and it doesn't do much of anything, and you feel like playing a first-person shooter, hit me up with a DM, and if we've got enough people that are interested in playing, we'll set some stuff up, maybe for a couple of Saturdays, or maybe like a Saturday a night, a Saturday a month. We'll set up a game night and we'll do something along those lines. Especially if there's no sci-fi movies and it's cold and there's nothing to do, people want to kill a couple of hours. Could be a lot of fun. So right now, just looking for some interest in that.
I think I'm familiar. That game's called Everybody Shoot Dylan, right?
No.
I think that's the name. It may go by some other things, but I'm pretty sure its name is Everybody Shoot Dylan.
Well, that's why I am trying to, figure out a couple of kinks that I'm having on my end to host a server, because there are several different game modes, and one of them is Last Man Standing type game where everybody kills everybody. There's a team Last Man Standing. There's cooperative games and stuff. So it could be a lot of fun.
Does sound cool.
But
we know there's not going to be the last man standing, and that's Dylan, because everyone needs to shoot Dylan.
I mean, it's true, because we did laser tag last weekend. My Dawn and Noelle and Noah and one of Noelle's friends went to laser tag nearby here, and everybody wanted to shoot me.
Well, Dylan, I've done laser tag before, and I've met you before. You're a very big freaking target. Okay, it's that simple. And this kind of game requires you to have a mouse and a keyboard. And if you're playing off a laptop, you're better off having you can't play it with the pad mouse that's built into the laptop. You have to have, one of these guys, an external type mouse, and a keyboard, or you could use the keyboard on the laptop. But what I have found is whenever I play a game that has a trackpad, type key mouse on it, when I'm playing a game, if my hand is on that keyboard, I accidentally hit things and I get myself killed. So I always use externals for that. So again, if anybody's interested in killing Dylan, wait, hold on. I just got a text. Is that from Dawn? Yeah.
She wants to kill Dylan, too. Can I play everyone?
Wait, hold on. Can we play with real bullets and real guns?
I only want to virtually have everyone shoot Dylan. For now.
For now. That's good. But one thing I just I've been thinking about lately also, Tony, is I think at the beginning of the new year, I think we need to get a little brain trust together and possibly discuss the Snark Fest, Snark Stock for 2016. That my idea I had, once again, time got away from me, but I think I want to try to nail some stuff down early so we can get as many people as we can out. including
Okay.
Kelly, so Kelly can actually shoot me for real.
I'm telling you, if you pitch a freaking ski lodge, I am gonna.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Nothing. I was just reading, and one of the most technologically advanced snark Alex says that she would like
Oh,
to
no.
be involved in killing people, and so would Mandy, but that's not the person I was referring to. Take a guess, people.
Everyone knows who it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you need a computer to play it on. You can't do it on a tablet. You can't do it on a phone. You can't do it with a Fox. You can't do it on a box. It's that kind of thing. Okay, so we've used up enough time there. So after the Walking Dead season finale, uh, we asked people to submit um, what they thought the best or the worst part of the season was, give us a rating, who they thought was going to die, and if they wanted to make any predictions. So I'll start with the boys here that are in the room with me right now, even though that they're not in the room with me right now. And we'll go with Kel because we didn't get you for the first half. So what do you think so far of this season of The Walking Dead?
So first half, and so it looks like we're using a 1 to 10 scale. Was what
1 to 10 scale,
since
yes.
Mike's not here, we can actually use
Right.
numbers, and
Right.
that'll be nice. So I mean, it's tough because it's super uneven because there are some tremendous episodes, and then there's some structural stuff and other things I'm less enthusiastic about. So kind of net, they started so strong. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes quite a bit. So when I kind of net it all out on a 1 to 10, I'll go 7, just because I got to kind of average it a little bit on some stuff.
Okay, so you would give it a 7. I'm going to put a 7 in one of the boxes here just for you, Kelly. Okay, because when I scroll down a little bit, I have a running average that's going. So, Dylan, I know you didn't submit either, so.
I never thought I was allowed to since I do.
No, you can. You can. It's okay. I mean, but I figure if you're going to talk about it on the show, you're going to talk about it on the show anyway. So your answer's probably going to be the same. But since I don't have your number value.
Well, amazingly enough, I agree with Kelly. I give it a 7 also. I've been thinking about it. I really enjoyed it for a while, but then once the finale happened, I started thinking about it a little bit more, and a bunch of other things started bothering me a little bit slightly about things. So, yeah, I still think it was a fairly strong one. I think that and we'll get this later, but I believe the second half is probably going to be much better. But
okay, so I already did rate it, and I gave it a 7 also. But the interesting thing about the ratings that we got, it's usually the same people that respond over and over and over, and these are the same people that generally respond going back to Snark Alec Radio days. But we'll get Dawn, we'll get Myrna, Lee, we'll get Barry, Laura, T. Scott McDonald, Pinky, Holly, the same people over and over. We didn't get a very large volume of responses, which is surprising, but we've got enough. The interesting thing is we've never had a rating of 6.6 before. I think the lowest rating that we ever got for The Walking Dead was an 8.0. So that's a significant drop in our rating for it anyway. I usually rate it a lot higher. I've never given the show anything lower than a 9, So it's interesting. And when we get to some of the responses of what people said, there are a couple of people who echo my thoughts. Um, so I'm sure that there's a lot of dissatisfaction out there, or not dissatisfaction, but not so satisfied people, as maybe as.
Oh,
He froze. Did he freeze for you?
yeah.
Yeah,
There you go. Okay, you're right.
okay. Phew. I hate when I freeze like that. Meanwhile, I can hear you guys the whole time. Um, so, um, first half, the first quarter or second quarter of the season, which one was better for you, Kelly?
Man, this is like I didn't know there was going to be math
Well,
involved.
episodes 1 to 4. Okay, so the breakdown is episode 1. A lot of people thought was phenomenal. A lot of people
True.
liked episode 2 because it looked like it was going to start off slow, with Happy Homemaker Carol, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. And then we had episode 3, the Glenn should have died episode, and then we had episode 4, which a lot of people absolutely hated, which was the Morgan-centric hour and a half. And um, I love the episode. I think a lot of people didn't like the Morgan episode because, a lot of people, if they watch on DVR, they may have seen the show, not watched Talking Dead, not done anything like that, and saw what happened to Glenn and tuned in the following week expecting to see a resolution of that story and got an hour and a half of Morgan, and it just pissed them off, and I laughed all night long because I thought it was awesome, um, to find out what happened with Morgan, how he changed. And I think Morgan is still as crazy as he was back in the Clear episode. He's just a different kind of crazy now. He's so fixed on all life is precious. But so, um,
So with that break, boy, that's tough because I did like the Morgan episode. Maybe we'll get into this some. I just think a lot of the choices they made on how they broke the stories up and the sequence they did things, because they actually filmed the Morgan episode last in
yes,
terms of so they had a choice on where to drop it in, and kind of interesting spot that they picked, and I think I understand their motivation, but they managed to take a character that a lot of people were super excited about and a backstory that a lot of people were interested in and a pretty well executed episode covering it, and have a bunch of people hate it. And so it's like, good job, guys, way to go, because if that had started the season off, or happened maybe if the Glenn stuff had resolved and they had done it, maybe the attitude would be a little bit different. But I did really like that. I found that to be a really enjoyable episode. It's a little different. So I kind of put I guess I'm going to have to put my vote for the second half of the season, because what is my all-time favorite moment ever on television is Rick Grimes standing in front of the wall yelling at everybody, "We need to be quiet! It's very important that we're quiet!"
I am gonna agree with Kelly 95%, because the only thing that you'd have to say is that Morgan episode could not have been dropped in as the finale. They could have actually done it there too, but in order to really understand who Morgan is at that point in the finale episode, you have to see how he got there, I think. But 100%, I think you could have dropped that. That could have been but then they would have had all of the cliffhangers would have been in episode 7. But hey, don't worry about it. Everybody's going to be all right. They're all going to survive because zombies are not dangerous anymore. That's my feeling. But Dylan, how did you feel about the Morgan episode?
I like the Morgan episode. And I think the reason why a lot of people, as you guys mentioned, that you did not like it, especially you, Mandy, because you keep talking about how much you hate it, is I think mostly because of the location of it. If you would have put that maybe as episode 3 after what happened in Alexandria, with him coming back and helping out and stopping stuff, and then having him go in, and you see that he's got one of the wolves with him. Actually, you don't see that yet. You don't see that. You don't see it till the end of the Morgan-centric episode. But then what you do then is you slide it into episode 3, and then you build up to the cliffhanger there was he's got one of the wolves that attacked him in the previous episode held hostage, and then you go to episode 4 where you have the whole thing with what's going on with Rick and all them, and the Glenn thing, and then it might make more of a better flow, I think, if they would have just switched those 2 episodes around. Regardless, it's still a good episode, and I can understand why people don't like it because it was boring. But you know what? Walking Dead has always been more about the characters. If you want to see a lot of crazy if you want to see a zombie show that does it right, Z Nation is, because they get a lot of crazy zombie stuff, but then they also get some really good character stuff in there, and they are able to combine it very well. But with Walking Dead, they prefer to focus, I think, a bit more on character than they do with maybe the zombies are still there, but what you really are discovering is you want to see how the people are reacting, because let's look at it. I mean, the major bad guys we've had, the governor, he was a person, the wolves, they're people basically, you can think of. Upcoming, with the Saviors and Negan, they're people also. You've got the termites. You've got everybody. It's all about how the people are evil and the zombies are just there. So in retrospect, it actually makes sense to have a huge character building episode that might be boring, but it's able to build up the character of Morgan a little bit because of what is about to happen to him with the remainder of the season. But I enjoyed it. I thought, to me, honestly, it reminded me a lot of season 1. With it was as if Darabont was still the showrunner on the show, because that seemed like a type of episode that Darabont would have done if he was still showrunner of it. It would be like, because that was, that's what a lot of people don't quite remember, is that Darabont was aiming more for, a more of a Shawshank type of style of show. He wanted it to be more about the people and the zombies not so much. I mean, there was talk that the season premiere of season 2, if he was still in charge, would have been focused entirely on Sam Witwer's character, who was in the tank with Rick. In fact, the crew would not even show up in the episode. It would be about this army group having to take on the zombie apocalypse. And to be honest, I think that'd be kind of cool, to see how that would be. But that's Darabont's forte. He likes to do character work, and this reminded me a whole hell of a lot of a Darabont type of episode, and I enjoyed it. I thought the acting was phenomenal. And I thought, everyone was talking about how upset they were when the goat got killed, so it just goes.
Listen. Don't call her the goat. It was Tabitha, okay?
I forgot. I don't remember names, Tony. Come on.
Her eyes are up here, Dylan. Yeah, I don't. So I mean, yeah, I jumped over to Twitter. Boy, there is a lot of hate from a couple people on this episode.
Yes.
I could. So I'm with Dylan, and I think you, Tony. I enjoyed the episode. I really won't argue with anyone to say is that the single episode that deserved 30 extra minutes? Could they have told that story in 60 like a regular show? Yeah, I think they probably could have.
Sure.
Could they have told the entire story in one commercial break? They could have, but it wouldn't have been, to me, as rich, and we wouldn't have got to know Tabitha.
Right.
But it is a different pace. To me, the timing was just unfortunate. I don't think no one was going to have kind of the patience for pulling the throttle back that far. They had kind of ginned way too much stuff up.
Well, I think had it been a different character that was left hanging in episode 3, if it had been someone of lesser stature, and I'm going to say lesser stature character could be a Tara or possibly a Sasha or an Abraham, because right now they don't really have main storyline arcs that they're dealing with. It looks like they're trying to give them something, but had it been somebody else. I mean, if you think back, Beth went missing, okay, at the end of the first half of season 4, right? Was it 4 or 5? It was,
So
and then
we're at 6 now. So it would have been so the prison deal would have been at the end of 4, right?
right. So it was season 5,
She disappeared at the beginning of 4, and they didn't know where she was for
right? For
most
a
of
whole
5.
half a season, for the rest of the season, and then she didn't come back till the next season, okay? And there was a couple of episodes or there was the one episode that was mainly featuring her and what was going on with her. Um, that seemed to go over people's head. I think what you're saying, placement, and you know what they were going for, and that's definitely something we're gonna talk about. But the one tweet that I thought was really funny, and let me pull it up because it was from Scotty. Uh,
I saw he tweeted that it was killer. He did a
no,
typo,
no,
but he said it was killer. So Scott, huge fan of the episode.
no, filler.
No,
Filler
I think
was
that's a
that.
typo. I think he thought it
Yeah,
was killer.
no. That's not the tweet I was referring to, though. The tweet I was referring to is the best part was when the Fonz put on the leather jacket and jumped over the great white shark. That's the tweet that I was talking about, which is just the whole series jump in the shark. But we'll get to jump in the shark because we'll talk about that later. That has to get to why everybody wants to pretty much crucify me on Twitter because yes, I was wrong with the Glenn prediction. So take the first half of the season. Number grade, Kelly.
Wow, like I said, this math stuff's hard. So I have a 7 total. I'm gonna be lazy here, and I'm gonna go 7 for the first half. Spoiler alert: what's coming up for the second half?
Okay.
I did. It's just it's tough because the problem I have wasn't with either half. The problem I had was this nonsense around how they handled the timing and everything else around the Glenn stuff is just
Okay.
irritating. So
Okay.
standalone, I'm gonna go 7 for first half.
Okay. Standalone. Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. Um, can you pull out an episode that you'd say was your favorite?
Premiere for me. I that was a fun, and I know it's a little hokey with the black and whites happened back in time, and
Right. And the
it's a
color
little
was current time.
yeah, that's a little simplistic, I guess, to a degree, but it worked. It was helpful eventually. You kind of, oh, okay, I got how this works.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really fun, intense show, showcasing one of Rick Grimes' worst plans ever. So,
Well, I don't think you can blame the plan. It just wasn't supposed to happen
it was a pretty
then.
horrible plan, I think.
Well, I mean, it just wasn't supposed to happen that day,
Yeah.
and they had no contingencies and they had too many neophytes outside the wall. But that episode also had some of Eugene's best lines ever. I mean, and with a cast that's pretty big like this, it's hard to give everybody, and that's one of the reasons why I don't have a problem when they split up, although they're not supposed to ever split up ever again. Um, it's circumstances that did split them up, but uh, that's one of the things that The Walking Dead always did well as far as pacing and keeping the story going. When they do that splitting up, you know, um, kind of like in Scooby Doo, like we'll go search the basement, you go search over there. It makes the show a little bit better when you have only a couple of characters that you can focus on. Um, Not when everybody's together, because when everybody's together all the time, everybody can't be talking. So, um, yeah, number one was one of my favorites, and I have a feeling I have another favorite episode possibly coming up in the second half, but I don't know. Um, there's a possibility that it might come, only because. we'll talk about that when it comes to predictions. Oh, and by the way, I didn't say it at the top of the show. A little bit later on, we will probably be getting into spoilers, stuff that could potentially happen based on where the characters are now and what the story arcs are in the comic. So if
Yeah,
you
and before we start on that, I will have a public service message to all comic book readers, including myself being one. But when we get to that point, I have a comment I'd like to share.
Okay. Well, and I'm sure we all have predictions and comments about the overall season so far, but we did ask people to submit, and so Kelly, we're gonna have to make you read.
Oh, that's never good.
Yeah. So, do you have that document
I
open?
do have the document open.
Okay. So we can start with Kelly because he's the guest.
So this is, am I reading from the what was the best or worst thing about the first half of season 6?
Yeah, and I don't know if this works for you, but I'm trying to open it up a little bit so I can open the column. Yeah, there we go. Did that happen for you magically, or did I just do that
It was
for myself?
magic, Tony. It was magic.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
I think I can manage because it's Myrna. And so I'll start off with Myrna's. Myrna is, I love Morgan in the Morgan episode. It was the best episode ever. I wish every episode had been about Morgan. No, that's not what she said. Myrna said the best thing was Carol being Ninja Carol. The first 2 episodes were good, which I agree with Myrna. Worst thing, Morgan episode and the Glenn Dumpster not so dead supposed survival. I mourn him, and they make us wait, slow-paced episodes, and bring him back to life or not.
Okay. So, and she obviously wrote that before we knew that Glenn was officially
Back in action.
still. And so, Dylan, you could take the next one.
Okay, this one is from Pinky. And Pinky says, everyone kept splitting up after they decided last season to stop splitting up. Rounding the walkers up and hurting them was the worst idea in history. They wound up doing the exact opposite of what they intended, which was to protect Alexandria. The plan was way too big to execute, and they didn't have enough people to have better contingencies set into place. Enid was the smartest one in the whole bunch. And just real quick, she gave the half of the season 7, and Myrna, you gave it a 5. I know you were trying to figure out what you gave it. You gave it a 5. So that was Pinky. Pinky agreed with a lot of what you said, Tony.
Well,
Or Kelly or
because
someone.
well, I said some of that stuff because I agreed, because it was unfortunate. And so that brings me to Scott McDonald's comment, which is the same thing as his tweet, which is the worst was the Glenn thing. They totally jumped the shark. And I agree 100% wholeheartedly. And if you don't understand what jumping the shark means, at the end of Happy Days, there was an episode where Fonzie jumped a shark, okay? And it was because they were running out of ideas, and that became the name for, hey, what do we do today? Well, they jumped the shark. So I agree. And Scotty actually rated the first half an 8, which is one of the higher ratings. And back to you, Kelly. See, this one's not so bad.
Yeah, and Scott, Scott Brayboy. Just from T. Scott Brave. And he has to say, Scott McDonald is a butthead. And when I say butthead, I mean his head is literally a butt. A goat butt.
Why don't you read?
Oh, that's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was my inner dialogue. I'm sorry. No. What Scott had to say was the best part was the Walker hurting, and the worst part was the Glenn death trickery.
Okay, so that's another person who does not like the Glenn death trickery. Okay, so not that I'm keeping score, but I'm taking names. Go ahead.
Oh, me? Okay. Mandy's, she gave a grade of 8 also for the first half of the season, and she said Glenn's fake out was the best, Morgan's 90 minutes was the worst.
Okay. And that brings me down to Laura, who dropped the show to a 6. Um, the best is Tony being wrong about Glenn. The worst is the rest. Not impressed so far. So Laura is not happy with the season. And hey, we'll talk about this later, but based on past performance, my opinion is they have never gone to any lengths to do any kind of trickery on the show, any kind of deceptive things, and they did it in this case. And basically, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, and remember from the top of the show, I'm always right. Um, they actually have taken the danger away from the zombies because, if you could be trapped in a space like that with no way out, okay, like 10,000 zombies or 5,000 zombies, and survive, then you are indestructible. Glenn is indestructible. Or is he? We'll find out later. Go ahead, Cal. Oh, you got some reading to do.
Well, actually, no, mine's the next line, which is from you.
Yeah, you're going to skip that.
Had
You're
nothing
going to
to
skip
say.
that one.
So I'm done.
No, you can skip that.
This is Myrna again, and again,
Yes.
Myrna's on the Scott is a butthead. Literally said is a butt. I don't know why these people are saying this. No, all right, this is a long one. Myrna, I have more hate than likes. I already said how I felt about Glenn's death. Then not dead episode. Stupid. Anyhow, the final episode was a mess. So many unfinished stories. Glenn, Maggie, etc. Honestly, it was a little boring. I'll give Deanna a thumbs up for taking out some zombies before she died. Or did she die, Myrna? We didn't see her die. There might be a dumpster nearby. Morgan just needs to die. I don't think he's good for the group. He made Carol weak, and he has the nerve to knock her out at her best. That was a great rock bottom, by the way. Knock her out at her best. She should have kicked his ass. The wolf getting away was so predictable. They didn't show enough of the town people. A horde of zombies in town. We barely saw anything. Where the hell are the Alexandrians? Which is a great band name.
Yes. However, what's going to happen is in the second half of the season, there is going to be a whole flock of brand new red shirt Alexandrians for them to kill. So they ran out of red shirts from the first half of the season, and they're going to have a whole bunch of new ones for the second half of the season. Go ahead, Dill.
Next up is Midgie Girl. She gave it a 10. And she said, "Oh, Death the Herd, the best opening scene. The worst was Enid eating a turtle."
Did that happen this year?
Yeah, second season. It was the second season. The second episode, rather.
Second episode?
JSS.
Oh, yeah, with JSS when they were showing the her flashbacks. Oh, yeah, flashbacks. So this is Barry Vencedor. The best thing was seeing ants climb down the wall of the house and finding food like they do. The worst thing was trying to make us believe a person can fit under a dumpster. Another person not happy with the Glenn / not death survival thingy. Okay. So, and that's like 5 people that have expressed their unhappiness with the turn of events there in that alley. And you can take the last one there, Kel.
And this is from Dawn. And she said the worst thing was the 90 minutes devoted to Morgan's backstory. Also, Jesse's kids, both of them. Actually, they were by far the worst. And Spencer was pretty worthless, too. The best part was the world losing its mind over Glenn's fate.
Okay. So, Spencer, that was one of the funniest things that they've ever done on that show. And I sat there and I actually laughed out loud because when Spencer fell off of that wire, when that wire broke and he, fell down, all the zombies jumped away from him and gave him a nice big open space so he could run to the wall and climb up it. And it was like, ooh, look, I'm a dumb, stupid zombie, and I am afraid at a falling piece of food. Like they all jumped out of the way. I thought it was kind of comical the way that worked out.
And I would argue almost, matter of fact, I would say basically equally as implausible as the Glenn scenario. I
Well,
mean, this is kind of the thing is they're yeah, it's pretty.
well, they repeated themselves again too with the Maggie escape and the Spencer escape were both the same, where they're both climbing up and the zombies grabbing at their legs, and you know, I was just waiting for Maggie to lose a shoe too, in that situation because that would have been just twice as friggin' awesome. But before we go on, in the last episode, Dylan and I spoke about miraculous and escapes of death. And I think the number one escape I think we both agreed on was when the governor was chasing Andrea and they ended up in this, like, there was this house in the middle of like a field. It was like a warehouse or something, but it was like in the woods, in the field, and he's chasing Andrea through it. And he goes through a door and she closes the door on him and he's in a room full of zombies and he's got to fight his way out. And then the next time we see the governor, and I think back then on Snark Alec Radio, like I was saying, like, the governor looks a little sick. Maybe he got bit, but I don't think anybody could believe that he got out of that room. And not only did he get out, but he got out and he also had Andrea with him in the truck, and that was right before she died. There was a couple of other ones that they had. Dylan pulled out Glenn when the governor had him and he was tied to the chair and the zombie was in the room. But we saw that one, like the governor's one. We didn't see how he got out of that. Then there was the one with Daryl in the basement of the funeral home when the zombies were chasing him and he kind of went downstairs and he was in that room with nowhere to go and he kind of just took the
table,
the table thing. It was more like one of those hospital type bed things with the wheels, and he just like turned it around on the zombies and he fought his way out. But we saw how that escape worked, and this was prior to finding out that Glenn was alive. Can you think of any, Kelly, that maybe we forgot?
So there was the Tyrese, the one where Tyrese got swarmed, and he kind of.
We didn't think of that one.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we actually saw.
Well, he was kind of fighting his way through the crowd.
Dylan.
Yeah.
Well,
oh no,
we've got Dylan.
Yeah, you remember it happened last time, Tony. It still happens occasionally. So.
You saw him start to fight, and then he just emerges through the brush. But that's when he had the hammer, I believe. But yeah, that was somewhat miraculous.
I'm sorry, the one I was thinking most about, unless you want to finish your comment, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that one totally slipped my mind because maybe I didn't think it was that miraculous, but it was a miraculous escape, because we did miss that one.
The one that gets me is as far back as the last season premiere or last season finale when Aaron and Daryl are in the car surrounded by zombies in the wolves' lair, and they're getting ready to do their Butch and Sundance, and all of a sudden, luckily, who happens to be walking by but Morgan? I found that a little weird, but he was, they were able to go out this swarm of zombies after being trapped in this car, surrounded by all the zombies. That was the one I thought of, and then also, this one was easier to understand, but when Carol and Daryl were in the ambulance and they were swarmed by them, they fell off of the overpass and survived that also.
Okay. Yeah, they survived it. I don't know if I would call that a miraculous escape. The first one though, with Aaron and Daryl in the car, that was definitely fortuitous, and I would say miraculous because hey, who showed up at the right time to benefit them but Morgan, to get them out. It's and that's getting back to deceptiveness and trickery and stuff like that. The governor one was one that they kind of skipped over, and we could have called them out for that at the time, but I don't think we did because everything else was good. But when you think back, it was like, yeah, how did he get out of there? They never. You never see it. You don't know. Um, but I guess that part of the story would have ended had the governor died there. But hey, what can you do? You know, that was when we used to love The Walking Dead, when we used to rate it a 10. Now we're only giving it sixes and
And don't forget,
sevens.
there were those 2 governor episodes that season that some people were not big fans of
Oh,
either.
but you want to like? I love that crap. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
in moderation, I do too. Don't know about 2 episodes of it, but
well, I mean, if you remember the sequence there, though, the governor disappears. We hadn't seen him, and then at the end of one episode, who's standing outside the gate, like spying in on them? But the governor, and everybody's like, "Oh shit, it's the governor!" And then we get to see where the governor was, and you know there there was a lot of stuff that happened in those episodes. The first one was a little bit slow when he picks up Tara and the family and stuff, and he's shambling through the old age home, and he looked like an old man himself. But other than that, I mean, uh, okay, me saying I loved it. I mean, I was entertained, and I didn't mind it. But there's a lot of people who, some people watch the show to see Daryl, and whenever Daryl's not on the screen, they're like, "Where's Daryl? What's Daryl doing? Are you going to show me Daryl, Daryl, Daryl?" And that's just the way it goes. So, um, I think we should just keep on going this way, and then when we get to predictions, at the end we'll talk to because this seems to be working. So, if you were going to pick a main character, and there was a list of about 13 people that could possibly die, and it was also there was a space where if you didn't want to pick a person on the list, you could um, write in. So. I'm just going to go through the list real quick. We've got
yeah.
Rosita.
Oh yeah, this is okay.
We've
Good.
got Rosita. We've got Maggie. We've got Daryl Dixon, who I think is got a pretty decent shot of not making it through the season. Aaron, Carl Grimes, the woman that Rick is screwing from Laura. That would be Jessie. Her name was on the list.
That's not been established.
Yes, we know he sucked her face at least once, but we don't know if he's actually doing the deed with her. Everybody, another Rosita, Maggie Green. That's the second Maggie. So we've got 2 Maggies, 2 Rositas. We've got a Father Gabriel and a Daryl Dixon. There is no Glenn on the list, which is a little bit surprising. But we can save that for later. Was anybody that you want to predict might not make it through the season, Dylan?
Let me see. Nope, 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 nope. Honestly, I really can't think of anyone because the way they've been playing things lately is, as you said before too, Tony, no one's really in that much danger. And, you go down the line, I'm starting to have difference of opinion about Glenn. I'm thinking more along the lines of a Daryl thing, but we'll get into that in predictions. I don't think Maggie's going anywhere. Abraham is probably going to be one of the people dying next season. Again, predictions, but I don't really have any that I can think of. Minor characters, I guess. I think eventually we're going to see possibly Jesse's boys, possibly passing.
Sam is totally toast. Yes.
Mommy, mommy, mommy.
Bad zombie herd behavior. Very bad zombie herd behavior.
But no, I really don't have any right now. I mean, I have predictions for the future, but for the rest of the season, I mean, I've heard other rumors about what's coming at the season finale, but I don't believe it. So at this point, I don't really think anyone's going to pass away. Anyone of I should say merit maybe is going to pass
you see,
away.
and Jesse's sons at this point, I don't think I had them on the list because I do not think that they are at the status where I should even have them on my radar.
Right, you're
Um,
absolutely right. They're basically one. They're like an orange shirt. You know?
yeah,
They're
yeah,
not quite
and
red, but they're a little lighter than that.
but the only thing that I think that keeps Sam safe is I don't think they'll kill a kid. And if they do, they have killed kids before, and
Yeah, yeah. Carol
uh,
shot one.
Kara shot one.
So, yeah,
Well, she was looking at the flowers.
they'll take kids out.
They'll take kids out, but I don't think they're gonna. I'm gonna say they try and do that few and far between. So, um, we've only lost a couple of kids on the show. Actually, more than a couple. But I mean, some of the kids that died because of that virus flu outbreak that they had in the prison, and not, they weren't ripped apart.
Yeah,
Um,
mostly Sophia, who was zombified, and the the one girl who I'm terrible at names. The Look of the Flowers girl's sister, who was killed by her sister, wasn't she?
yes, yes, because she was going to come back. Because she would come back. Um,
Yeah, the only one I mean, I'm kind of with in terms of this list. I think that Daryl's they've been killing his character due to the writing for most of this season, so they might as well just finish the job. So I think he's at risk.
well,
Yeah, I have, as I said, I have a theory about Daryl myself. But
well,
that's
I mean,
predictions.
depending on where they go and this will come into predictions, but I think Glenn is probably safe because it just doesn't make sense to almost kill him at this point, and then just to kill him in a couple more episodes. It doesn't make too much sense. So who knows? Maybe they will do that because it doesn't make any freaking sense.
It would be
Um,
awesome, if he does die. I want
oh,
the Wizard of Oz
I
guy.
will have a party. I will have a party if they kill him.
But I want the Wizard of Oz guy that came out and read the proclamation about when the witch dead. It was that she's really most completely dead. I want that.
But does Glenn have some ruby slippers for someone to put on? I think either Daryl or Glenn, for reasons I'll give later. But hey, spoiler alert! According to Scott McDonald, Norman Reedus has sold his house in Georgia, but I think he did that last year.
Yeah, he did.
So
That's also the other thing that aggravates me about the way things are going. Also, is that last season finale last year, where they were trapped in the car, everyone was making a big deal that they thought Daryl was going to die because he was making these offhand remarks. He was selling his house in Georgia, doing all this stuff, and it turned out to be nothing. I don't think
yeah,
anybody died in the finale of importance.
well, no one's going to die from now on because the zombies. I mean, basically, what's going to happen is more people are going to die at the hands of people than are going to die from zombies. I think,
Mhm.
only because that's the way they want to go, and because zombies aren't dangerous anymore. And Kelly, are you okay? Because you have not moved in about 30 seconds.
I've not moved. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah, you were frozen there on my end anyway for a second or two. Um,
And apparently, I look tired to Midget Girl, so my apologies.
um,
I don't know what to
so.
do. Sorry.
So we're gonna move on to predictions, and since we started with Kelly last time, I'm gonna start.
Okay, before you start, so is this when we're going to start to cheat into
Spoiler alert.
potential? Yes. So so at this point, I believe comic knowledge can be brought to bear in influencing predictions. Is that correct?
It may, and
Okay.
I do, even though I haven't read, I do have some knowledge. So I will use that in my predictions. Whether or not it is going to be of any help, I don't know. But
Okay.
there is definitely spoilers coming,
Okay.
especially for non-comic readers. So,
So
although
we're comic book readers, and that includes Dylan and me. So this message is for you and I as well as everybody else. What has happened to us? We used to be so well behaved. If you think about the first several seasons of The Walking Dead, when the prison showed up, about all we said was, "Ooh, the prison. Bad stuff happens there. There's a bad guy coming. When the governor showed up, ooh, that's the governor. He's bad. When Michonne shows up, oh, that's Michonne. Now, a bunch of clowns on motorcycles show up with shot-off shotguns, and we can't wait to scream out, "That's the Saviors! Negan's our leader! He kills Glenn!" Blah blah blah. And it's just like, relax. Let people enjoy it. So, my encouragement is anyone who's a comic book reader is try and be a little nebulous where you can, a little bit on the prediction side.
Right.
I think it's still fair. But don't write it out.
Okay. Well, we'll get to our predictions in a minute or two. Let's see what the peanut gallery has to say, and then we'll go in. I'm going to start out with this, and I believe it's Myrna who started out. So the serial killer Cud.
I missed the cow that was generating killer Cud.
is going to try and kill Carl. So I believe Myrna is she's channeling Ron here, and so that was a pretty decent prediction when she made it because it was prior to him really. That was a great though. After that first little bogus fight that Carl and Ron had, where they were kind of just like pushing at each other, like let's slap each other. It's a slap fine. Oh,
it was so sad.
He pulled my hair. Oh my God. Oh, he hit me with a spitball. Oh.
There's a great photo of those two with Ron trailing Carl, where it's like the resting bitch face parade because these are just two mopey teens.
But I think, to tell you the truth, that one scene in the finale when he was with Rick and Carl kept on putting his 2 cents in, and his face. I mean, yes, Carl was being a dickhead, but he thought he was being helpful. But I love Carl now. I mean, he's got great hair, and it was just awesome. Like they just showed his face, and it was like deadpan, and you could see him smoldering. So Ron was pretty good in that situation, and it was like, okay, his acting and those scenes almost got campy. They were borderline camp. How overtly they were telegraphing that whole scenario. So if you didn't pick up that Ron hates Carl and he wants to kill him, and Myrna made this prediction before those scenes even came out. They put it out there plain for you. He hates him.
Yeah, but she was saying it was going to be a killer Cud.
Killer Cud.
She's off. I don't see any cows. I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, Dylan, you could take Pinky.
All right, Pinky. Her prediction is the writers are going to torture us with Glenn watching the herd get Maggie after he managed to survive them. Yeah. The more ridiculous they can twist this up, the more Twitter will explode.
Yeah. And again, this is another prediction that came out prior to the finale because this went up a week before. This actually went up before episode 7. So there was 2 weeks lead time on this. Kel, you could take the next one.
Okay, from Scott McDonald. Scott predicts Daryl will die, and he also formally apologizes for calling me a cheerleader for The Walking Dead during Twitter tonight, which was nice of him to do because he was wrong to do so, and I'm glad he was a big enough man to apologize.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Oh, it's there.
I didn't call Daryl's death. I'm kind of predicting it though. So Negan from T. Scott Brayboy, he's just predicting Negan, which is a pretty safe prediction.
Considering he'll be in the season finale.
Well, again, this was prior to. I believe he posted this prior to. So here goes the big problem, and I'm going to agree with Myrna about the last episode because they cliffhangered everybody. The only people that didn't get cliffhangered in that episode was Abraham, Sasha, and Daryl. But they did get cliffhangered if you watched Into the Badlands and saw that little minute preview snippet where uh, they do get cliffhangered. So that was a cliffhanger that was not in the show, but they cliffhangered you with those characters anyway.
Actually,
Which
it was from what I saw, it was supposed to be a post-credit tag, but then they wanted to get more
boost
people to boost
Badlands.
into the Badlands, so they moved it then.
Boy, and there's
Um,
a lot of Into the Badlands hate out there. I don't know. I mean, really, people were really angry to have to watch through to the first commercial break.
Well, no, you know what it is? A
Pretty
lot
cool.
of people, and we can talk about the ratings a little bit later on too, because the live ratings are down for The Walking Dead.
Actually, they're up. The season finale was up. Whereas the mid-season finale was up than where it was.
What was it? Do you know?
I
Because
don't remember off the top of
I
my head, but I read that they had it said that the ratings were up for the mid-season finale than it was. Maybe it was up for the season, possibly. I don't know, but I all I saw was
no.
the headline. I saw the headline that said the ratings were up. That's
Well,
why.
their ratings are up overall because they're getting 30 million views when they count in on demand and DVR. But what they're really looking for is the live views. And I read an article that said they had 14 plus million live views on the opening episode, and then every other episode up into the finale was less than 13 million, which was their benchmark best season where they got over 13 million views every episode. And the finale and the opening episode were the higher ones, but nothing fell below 13. Not one episode was above 13 in the first half, except for the opening episode. And one of the things that they think that affected it somewhat was Badlands coming on after The Walking Dead, because they used to have Walking Dead, Talking Dead, Walking Dead, the repeat of the initial, the new episode, and that helped boost the ratings. And because they tried to introduce people to Into the Badlands, it hurt Walking Dead because people weren't tuning in to Talking Dead and then Walking Dead after that because it was on just way too late.
But by the
But I
way,
didn't.
good call in not watching Talking Dead anymore.
Yeah.
It's horrible, but
Well, no, I have decided not to watch it anymore, and we'll get into that after we make our predictions and stuff if we have time. Um, but you're up there, Kelly, with Laura.
No, I had to do. I hadn't done. I
Oh,
hadn't
you hadn't
finished
done.
yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Glenn never sees Maggie again. Carl gets more awesome. Rick bangs Jesse. Kelly, your turn.
thank you, Dylan. Thank you very much. And this is from Laura. Abraham's gonna get some from Sasha, and Eugene might just be watching.
I think there's a possibility that Rosita's going to be getting some from Spencer, and Eugene will be watching that also. That's just a side
I
prediction.
see Sasha as less accommodating to. Rosita didn't appear too happy about it, but I don't think Sasha's gonna cotton to that. I don't think she's gonna go. No, I don't think so, Mr. Dolphin Smooth.
Okay, so I get to read a Myrna one. Damn it.
Good luck.
Ron is going to hurt Carl when he gets a chance. Oh, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan is going to come as Negan. Reddit. Denise will be okay.
Reddit.
Sam is going to get eaten by a zombie. LOL. I don't care about Glenn because now it'll be worse for him. Morgan will die. Rick and his people will find a new town to destroy. Yeah, we'll talk about that too.
Lee said the wolf guy will finally brush his gnarly teeth. We only hope.
Okay, that was a pretty decent prediction. I'd say not, though. He may need to get a whitening besides a brushing.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess, the whitening strips are kind of probably a tough commodity right now. I'm sure those are the first things to go when the looting starts. So I can understand where the guy's got a problem. All right, from Barry, kind of the lobster trap theory here. After coaxing all the walkers inside the community, they didn't exactly coax them, but I guess point. To the rear of the wall, the survivors will run around to the outside to the front of the community. And with Glenn's help, they will block the breach in the wall using abandoned semis, trapping the walkers inside. They will abandon this place, and they'll be on the road once again.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with that one, but it's possible.
Possible. Seems like a long shot, but it's possible. It's creative. Like it.
And last one. Judith finally starts walking and talking and tells Coral to get a damn haircut.
Good for her.
Makes Coral and Ron fight it out over her, Thunderdome style. Jessie ditches her useless kids because they're just slowing her down in the apocalypse. Daryl dies because he's become less and less pertinent to the show. The Murphy shows up and does his zombie Jedi mind tricks. That has got to be the best prediction ever from Dawn.
I like it.
I agree with everything except Judith starts walking and talking, because that'll never happen.
I don't agree with any of it, but I love all of it.
Okay. I agree with Kelly 100% on that point. So who's going to go first? Who wants to go first with predictions?
Well, you said you would. Why don't you go ahead, Tony?
Okay, so spoilers, people. Spoilers. There's going to be some spoilers here. So, as I said earlier, if they're going to continue with the Maggie storyline, with Maggie going someplace else, her move to going with Negan is precipitated by her getting pregnant and by the death at the hands of Negan with his signature weapon, the baseball bat to the head, which would be a devastatingly worse death for Glenn, because it would happen right in front of Maggie. Okay, so that's why I think Glenn might be safe, but who knows? They might be stupid enough to say, hey, look, Glenn's alive. Now he's dead, and now there's no question about it. He's freaking dead. Those are his brains on that baseball bat. Or the other thing that they might do, which I think might be a little bit more likely, because Carol is no longer in the comic, she's dead, and Kirkman loves this Carol character, especially considering this fight she's had with Morgan at the end of the first half of the season, where they transfer the Maggie storyline over to Carol, and they precipitate that with Daryl's death at the hands of Negan, as opposed to Glenn, because Daryl's death would probably be more have more of an impact on Carol than anybody else besides the fans. So my prediction is it could be the Maggie storyline, but more than likely, because they did not kill Glenn now when he wasn't supposed to die, they're not going to kill him when he is supposed to die according to the book. So that's spoiler alert. That's my spoiler. My prediction is Daryl dies and Carol leaves and goes to Negan's group.
To settle the score or to team up?
Well, to team up, because my understanding is that's what happens to Maggie. So she would take the Maggie storyline.
It's not quite what happens with Maggie, but...
Okay. Doesn't she become the leader in Hilltop or whatever?
Yes, but Negan's not in charge of Hilltop. Hilltop is a completely different community.
Oh, so there's another community. Oh, okay.
That's where Jesus is from.
Oh, okay. So Jesus is not a savior, or is Negan a savior, or so and do they ever?
I would like to just clarify. The page expressed by Tony Solo do not necessarily reflect.
Yes, I've already had this trouble with YouTube. This is a joke, okay? It's not a real, honest to goodness belief of Tony's.
Yeah, so somehow we need to kind of Earth Jesus. Maybe we can call him Earth Jesus.
I'll just call him Jesus. May as well call him just Jesus, or his name Paul. Call him Paul.
Paul,
because that's his name, Paul Monroe. You know. There he goes.
If I speak about Jesus in the context of The Walking Dead, I am not talking about the Son of God. Okay, I am talking about a character in a show. Okay.
And you said Jesus is not a savior, and I laughed. I'm sorry.
That was great.
Yes, I realized after I said it, I was like, yeah, that's not good. And by the way, I'm Jewish, so that's
Doesn't matter.
probably
Right.
why.
So you're
You're telling the truth then, actually. Yeah.
consistent with your
No,
belief.
I'm not Jewish, but yeah. So those are my predictions. But whatever happens, whatever Maggie's storyline is, may be transferred to Carol, um, because of you know. I have a feeling that Rick is going to maybe side with Morgan because um, he tries to be good. And Carol, it just will kill everything that freaking moves. Carol will kill everything. Give her a chance. Oh, what? You're smoking a cigarette? I'll kill you. You're making a little bit noise. You're not dying fast enough for me. Let me slit your throat and hurry you along. Oh, you want to look at the flowers? Boom! I'll put a bullet in your head. Oh, you got sick? Let me kill you and burn your body. Carol just kills everybody. So, a lot of people love Carol, and I love that she's out there and she does ninja kinds of stuff. But she's going to kill you, and then she's going to ask questions later, and she may not even ask questions. She just kill you and say, "Ooh, did I do that? I don't know." So I have a feeling she's as popular with the fans, and she is going to exact retribution against anybody who kills Daryl, and that will enamor her to the fans even more. And then Kirkman can get rid of Daryl because he hates him. And Norman Reedus. My prediction. Final answer.
Okay. You want to go next, Dylan? You want to? Cause I think you and I have many similar thoughts.
Yeah, I think we do. I'll give a couple of thoughts I had. And here's something I want to ask you, Kelly. This is vying into comic book territory now. With the fact that Denise is now kidnapped by the wolf, do you now believe that Carl's going to get shot? Because remember, she was the one that helped fix him up, and with the fact that he's no longer, that she's still, she's not there, or basically, or wherever she is, she's not nearby to be able to do her doctoral duties. Do you think maybe they're just going to ease past that storyline?
So that's a great question because so Rick in the comic doesn't have a hand, and Andrew Lincoln has managed to keep, ever since he met the governor, he doesn't have a hand.
Right. And they tease that though. A lot of people feel.
And never come back to it.
Yeah, I know. Shockingly, they kind of there was this thread. They kind of but yeah, they did tease it a little bit. But in terms of like just the logistics, to have an actor kind of have to always do the CGI for the hand would have cost a lot. I think given the nature of what kind of happens to Carl, that's going to add a lot of time to Channel and Riggs' makeup time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're finding a way to have that not happen. But I think it's a great point because to me, she's gone, and she's the only one that is a viable candidate to help him, unless they're trying to set something up where he's hurt and Rick pleads with the wolf to say, no, we need her for this, and somehow he sees the light. I don't know, which would be kind of blah. But this guy seems pretty consistently bad and comfortable with his badness. But.
And that's the other, and then going more into the comics too. I mean, you guys have touched on it also, especially you, Tony. My original thought was when the whole Glenn fiasco was going on, I didn't think he was dead because they were going to kill him with Negan coming. But now that I think about it more and more, it would be kind of dumb, to have him go through the storyline and then kill him again. Basically, I mean, yeah, just to appease the comic fans. I've gotten to the point where being a comic fan and being a fan of the show, I can separate who's who. It's more fun now trying to figure out, all right, this character no longer is in the comics, so who's going to take their place? And then it's fun to play with that a little bit. So I'm getting to be on the similar lines as you, Tony. I think Daryl's the one who's going to get brained by Lucille. Only because the reason why I thought that the Glenn thing worked until they did the whole storyline with him possibly dying and disappearing and stuff like that. The whole thing worked because, when somebody dies on the show, someone big, there's usually one or two other characters who are there to witness it. The fact is, when Glenn's supposed death, there was no other character because Nicholas has already, zombie chow. And we didn't know Enid was there, and Enid's not really that big of a main character, but usually they like to have at least one or two of the main characters there. I mean, just think about all the big people who died. Andrea was Michonne was with Andrea, and with what's his face? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And so when he died, the way he died with nobody around him, that made me think, well, that's kind of sucky that happens. Where then you get him brained in front of his wife who's carrying his child, and his oldest friend, well, not oldest friend, but the one that Rick's, the friend that the first person Rick really befriended in this whole zombie apocalypse and helped him out. It would be a major blow for both of them. Now, that being said, those people who are saying that it's not dangerous, the zombies aren't dangerous anymore, and it's more people. Once again, it goes back to my theory that the whole point of Walking Dead is that people are more dangerous than the zombies are anyway. And my belief is that, geez, I just lost my fucking thought. I'm really tired too. Kelly, go make a prediction too. I got to get back on my train of thought.
Okay, so I'm with you in terms of, I think, so Negan again. So we try to keep warning everybody. If you haven't figured out, like, major spoilers, and we're talking about stuff that's happening way down the road in the comic. No guarantee it happens in the TV show, but so again, apologies if you didn't know that and you're hearing all this stuff and you're angry with us. But I think Negan will, his kind of hello there, Rick moment is Rick got cocky. Rick thought he could take anybody out. Rick got a little sloppy, and Negan spanked him. And he spanked him by killing Glenn in the comic. I think Daryl would be a good spank for Rick in terms of a person going out. And I'm kind of with you to say, well, it's kind of dumb with what happened with Glenn for it now to be him. But let's wait a second here. Imagine we're the writers of The Walking Dead, and we thought this Glenn idea was a good idea. And we thought, what's going to be cool is we're going to have this play out, and people are going to be worried whether Glenn's alive or not. Then they're going to be relieved when they find out he's okay. So it's going to be all the more of a big hit when Negan takes him out. And so that could be good drama. What they didn't anticipate is how badly they were going to screw it up. And I think they screwed it up 45% on the show and 55% outside of the show on things like Talking Dead and Gimple writing letters and interviews.
I'm going to disagree with you because I'm going to say they screwed it up 75% on the show, because if they wanted to, they could have cut that scene out with the guts coming out of apparently Glenn's chest, and they could have ended it with the fall to the ground and not showing him on the ground. They could have cut it there because there was another 10 minutes left in that episode and they never went back to it. So if they would have cut 20 seconds out of that, it would have just been a cliffhanger. But the other thing that they did, and it's not a small thing that they did, was they took his name off the opening credits.
Yep.
Okay? Now, a lot of people were also saying, hey, Andrea, everybody who dies that's a main character appears on The Talking Dead. Andrea did not. Laurie Holden was on the week before, and that's when I predicted that she was going to die, and everybody was like, oh, no, 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 no. And this is comic predictions because she's still supposed to be alive. She's supposed to be Rick's main squeeze at this point. And that was one of the reasons why a lot of people were saying, no, Tony, you're wrong. She's going to make it. And she didn't, because that was Darabout's way of saying F you in the butt, because I'm going to make it. So you can't go back to the comics because there was that struggle that was going on.
So you're 1-1.
I'm 500%. I'm batting 500. If I was a baseball player, if I was a batter, I'd be really good because I'd be batting 500. But to take an actor's name off of the opening credits, and I think there's like a big legal ramifications for that, because, and don't say, well, he wasn't in the other episodes. Well, there's been other episodes where half of the cast is not there, and Andrew Lincoln's name is always there. Every cast member's name is always at the beginning of the show. In the last episode, we didn't see Sasha, Abraham, or Daryl. Their names were on the credits of the show. So just because they weren't there doesn't mean they were dead. They just weren't in the episode. But when it comes for them to get paid residuals, I think their name being credited. I mean, it's possible that Steve's name was in the credits there someplace, maybe in very, very small print. So legally they didn't take his name off of it because they get paid on the episodes that they appear in. And I think they appear in episodes where their names are on the opening credits. That's the way I think it works anyway. So to take his name off is a big move, even for only a couple of episodes. So they did a lot of stuff to kind of hoodwink people.
Yeah, and so we're really not disagreeing then. I think point I was trying to make is the storytelling part. That was 45 things like showing what they showed with him, but it's all this other extra crap that they did around it with the credits, with the letter. It's just they worked too hard. If they were confident enough with what they'd done, they should have just let it play out. And then to me, the smart thing would have been, oh no, because what would have happened if that episode had happened all in one show? If midway through the show, Glenn and he are up there, he drops down, you see all the zombies come in, you go to commercial, you come back, and he's crawling underneath the dumpster. The commercial break right after he fell out. I still think we'd kind of call that seems really unlikely, but I don't think people would have got nearly as worked up.
No, I agree with you, but you see, the thing was, and my opinion, is that ratings, and you could look at the ratings for the season, they were down below the 12. But meanwhile, when they look at the overall ratings with the DVR and on demand, they're over 30 million plus, which is phenomenal. But AMC stock price was really hurting because of that. So I think they did that purposely. And again, one of the reasons why people hated the Morgan episode so much was because a lot of people who would normally say, yeah, I'll watch it on Monday because there's nothing I watch on Monday, I'll just DVR it and watch it on Monday and see what happens. They couldn't wait, so they tuned in live and got 90 minutes of Morgan, and they were like, what the F is this crap? You know? And it would have been a lot different, I think, because there's a difference between, holy crap, did they just kill Glenn, to, oh my God, is Glenn going to survive? There's two different questions that you ask depending on what you show at the end of that episode, you know? And so they put it out there, look, we killed Glenn. And then Gimple makes a statement, and guess what? Chris Hardwick works for Scott Gimple. Okay, because, you know, in the next episode of The Talking Dead, he gets a text from Scott Gimple, and he says, oh, my boss is watching. I just got a text from my boss. So guess what? When your boss tells you to say something on the show, you say it. When your boss tells you to do something on your show, you do it. You know? So you got to remember that Chris Hardwick works for the man, you know? And when he opens up a show with the statement that he opens up, did I just see what I thought I saw? You know? And, you know, a lot of people were saying, okay, at the end they didn't have in memoriam for Steve. They could have showed it and then put a question mark and said, is he dead? Is he really truly dead? They could have done that, but they didn't do that, you know? He didn't appear. It's their show, and
So we may have beaten us with a stick enough at this point. I do want to kind of ask you one thing, Tony. Mm-hmm. You advanced a theory around Glenn being a vision of Enid, that she couldn't handle his death. Now, I want to ask, and we're just among friends here.
Okay.
You advanced that theory just
as
conversation.
Right? Well, you didn't
really believe that was a possible scenario.
If they were actually going to kill Glenn, okay, it would be the only explanation for it. However, now in that episode, Glenn went out and did a couple other things. Like he found the dude that had the toilet paper thing. I can't remember the guy's. Is his name David? I think Betsy's husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, he went and found the message and stuff, and but the thing is, if there was going to be a way for Glenn to be dead, but still pieces of Glenn, like what the hell did that statement mean? A version of Glenn. So is this not the same Glenn? I mean, was he body snatched? Was there a big bean pod there, a seed pod that he was? Invasion of the body snatchers came down and snatched him. I don't know. It looks like the same Glenn that went under the dumpster is the same Glenn that came out from under the dumpster. So I don't know what they mean by complete the story and a version of Glenn, because it was very wishy-washy and very ambiguous, and it did nothing but muddy the water. If they wanted you to think Glenn was dead, then make everybody think he's dead and do it full force and then bring him back. And I still would have been pissed off, but not as pissed off as I was because of all of the mixed signals they sent and the trickery and deception. And here goes. I was sitting and thinking about it, and The Walking Dead has become a children's nursery story, a fable. Okay, it's called The Three Little Pigs. They started out in a house of straw.
Have you been stripping furniture?
No. Then
Okay.
they started out in a house of straw, the farm. Then they moved to a house of sticks, the prison. Now they're in a house of bricks, Alexandria. And the big bad wolves came and they huff and they puff and they blew the house in. So now what nursery rhyme are they gonna, or Mother Goose story or fable that are they gonna take on next? Because right now that's what The Walking Dead is. Okay, they had all of those cliffhangers, and I didn't care. Like usually at the end, I'm like so psyched and so pissed off that I'm gonna have to wait 6 months. I can wait. I can wait till February. I really don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about the show anymore. Only because,
I'm excited to see how they handle Negan. Just
well,
because.
I'd like to see how they handle everything. But the thing is, I feel that once they go down that road of pulling out tricks and doing David Copperfield type shit in the show, then it's almost like being a crack addict. They got a little taste of it. They're gonna. Oh wow! Now let's take off the chains. We can do all of this stupid crap. I would have felt better if a friggin' helicopter would have come down and sent down a rope, and they would have rescued Glenn that way, and we would have found out that there was like a piece of the Air Force that was still working.
Or.
A hot air balloon.
Yes, yes.
And then they took that hot air balloon and they rode it all the way to the nearest ski resort and dropped him off on the top of the freaking mountain.
Now that's where it gets totally unbelievable that they would go to a ski resort for safety. Just can't. I can't buy it. Dylan,
but I was thinking. I've got my thought back on, and I'm sorry for. I don't know. I'm just tired, I guess. But my main thing is what the Negan story is going to do, and Kelly can attest to this also, is for the longest time, and this season might even be the best example, that everything is succeeding, is going their way. Yeah, granted, the walls came down and people are dying, but you know what? The main cast are still alive, and they're able to still survive through this massive amount of zombie stuff. Now, what's going to happen you're going to see if they are going to, as Gimple has said before, if they're going to segue back into the comics, you're going to see a completely different show next season, because with the arrival of Negan, he basically bitch slaps every single member of that group down to a different level, and they have to claw their way out, and it takes them a really long time to get out from under his thumb. So now we're at a point where Rick's at that point where he's the leader of Alexandria now, basically, and is the boss, is the head cheese, the head honcho, numero uno tanto, as it were, and he is about ready to get bitch slapped back down and taught a lesson by Negan and his crew, and it's going to take a little while, possibly a season and a half, to get him back to where he is now. But it's going to be if they are going to be following with the comics, it's going to be a very bad time for the group the next, I would say season and a half. I would say maybe 2 seasons possibly.
Because there's like 0 wins for them coming up for a long time.
And so maybe that's the point of what they're trying to do now. They know that they've got this thing coming up, so now they're showing their own. You know, they've been dying to get to the story. Everybody knows they've been dying to get to the story because it is as iconic as the Governor story is in the comics. Alexandria not so much, but you know, Negan and the Governor were 2 of the biggest iconic stories in The Walking Dead, and they were dying to get to this because everybody's been talking about it, trying to get to this point, and now they're this close to getting it, and now they want to, you know, make them seem like they're the cocks of the walk, or they're the best, you know, the best things in the whole world, and everything is going to go their way, and nothing can go wrong with them, and then everything is going to go wrong for them, and it's going to be good if they're going to, you know, keep as close as they can to the comics. It should be a very interesting ride, but I think you're going to see a completely different show starting next season if they're going to be sticking with what they've got planned to do.
Yes, Avery. So now, Dylan, you have acting experience, so I'm going to ask a favor of you here. I want you to channel the Negan from television. So you are now the Negan character from television, and I want you to say, "Hi, Tony. How are you today?" as Negan, because I want to see.
Oh my God!
The thing is that I
have no idea how to do it.
How are they going to do it? Because I'm just interested to see. Because they have to do it some way, right? So
is cocksucker a bad word on TV?
I think it's a bad word. That's a bad word.
For AMC especially? Okay.
That's one of his go-tos. You know, when he gets off the F-bomb.
You know, they better not neuter him. Say, hey, little bitch. Why don't you lick my shoes a little bit? You know, no, they can't do that. You gotta have stuff like you just sucked my cock and you enjoyed it.
Well, they have used the word asshole, and they've actually had Carl say asshole because he told Ron that his father was an asshole. So I don't see anybody saying the word cocksucker.
Or fuck every other word, because that's exactly what Negan is.
Right.
He loves his curses.
Well, I mean, we might get them. You see, the thing is, with creative words like mother dick, I don't think anybody would accept it from anybody other than Abraham. They could get a little bit creative, but I don't think so. You know,
I have my fingers crossed that they're going to flip, just like the Governor, because the Governor in the comic is very bikery, very greasy and scrawny, and the Governor that we see, and he wins through intimidation, where the Governor in the television show uses charisma a little bit more from there. So they kind of did something there. I would love it if they make Negan like. You can't ever use any sort of swear word around Negan, or he like kills you. And he is just
he may end up looking that way. He may end up looking like Colonel Sanders, like dressed in like totally white, spiffy white, clean, like immaculate. You know what I mean?
I doubt that.
Well, I doubt it too. I mean, I don't know that much about the Negan character, but if they want to make somebody more television friendly, they'd have to make him psycho in a different way. You know, like Hannibal Lecter is a perfect example of a psycho that works in the movie and works on TV also, you know, because he just talks about eating the guy's liver and having a nice bottle of Chianti with it. So
I want him to have a kitten, Dylan. I want him to always have a kitten. He's petty. What do you think, Fluffy?
Yeah, he might be more like Dr. Evil, you know.
Awesome.
And then
I made you pet my cat, and you loved it.
There you go. You cat licker.
Oh, is that what they're calling Tara now?
Oh man.
Okay, wait. I want to say something to Mandy, because she obviously doesn't listen to the words that come out of my mouth. Okay, I had a little bit of doubt about Glenn's supposed death. I didn't believe those were Glenn's guts. I had faith in the writers and the producers of The Walking Dead to not pull any kind of shenanigans. So I refused to believe that he was alive solely based on the fact that they never used any sort of shenanigans before. And when you get 6 seasons into a show that they have a proven track record of not pulling any shenanigans, you kind of have faith in the writers because they've been telling the story. I may not agree with the story 100%, but the way they are telling the story has been pretty done pretty well.
Yeah,
And
I would argue Herschel's infinite fire shotgun in the big
well,
barn one would be a shenanigans like moment. There's been
right,
some
but
times the writers have been a little.
well, when it comes to okay, let's count the bullets in the gun because there was a lot of people saying that Nicholas shouldn't have had another bullet in the gun. Hey, those clips can hold 15 rounds. It's just legally in some states you can only put 9 bullets in them. Doesn't mean they only hold 9 bullets, but you can't have more than 9 bullets uh, in one of those things. So,
I'm not talking about Nicholas's gun. I'm talking about Herschel's shotgun that shot like
well,
about 112 rounds without him reloading.
well, again, you're talking about that could be something that just someone is stupid about. I'm not talking every second of every moment of the show was 100% realism because it's a show about zombies. So none of it's real. It's a TV show, first of all, but there's zombies in it. So that's not real either, as far as we know. But
Which is
okay,
exactly what I just would have said to you about this scene.
okay. No, well, okay. So let's take the zombies out of it, and let's make it the lost ship type flu that's taking out 90% of the population, and there's a whole bunch of people that are walking around that are infected, and if they come near you, you will get infected too. So it's the same thing. Okay. Again, um, when they go out of their way to show how badly that situation is for Glenn, where okay, he's got a wall, a fence. They can't climb the fence because there's zombies over there that could eat them through the fence, so they couldn't climb the fence. They didn't have enough time to move the dumpster against the wall to help them get above the zombies and climb up onto that roof that Enid was on. Okay, they didn't have time to do any of that crap, and they keep on showing you this aerial shot, and they keep on showing you how the zombies are going back for miles and miles and miles.
But they did have time to run by that staircase.
Right.
That's the other thing.
They had time to run by that staircase,
and gone up the staircase.
And these zombies that don't run anymore, like they used to run in season 1, because I mean I've mentioned this a number of times. Okay,
Yeah.
and I am letting that go too. Okay, but for the most part, they've been telling the story in a way where it's somewhat believable. Again, it is a far-fetched situation in a far-fetched world. I believe some of the worst people will survive something like this because the worst people will start doing really bad shit early. What we call really bad shit is them walking down to the corner and getting a gallon of milk. That bad shit comes normal to them. They don't have a problem doing it, and it's the good people that have to learn how to do some of these things that makes the difference. So basically, do you have a favorite restaurant, Kelly?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so now you go to this restaurant frequently. You pretty much know the menu, and you have several things on that
I have
menu.
numbers by the different choices, and I can supersize them.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't thinking about a fast food type place.
Oh, okay.
But
well, give me a moment. Okay.
a real
My
restaurant.
second favorite restaurant.
Okay, your second favorite restaurant, where there are several meals that you can have there that you've had before, and they're all equally delicious. Plus, you've also had some specials, right? And you go in there one day, and you sit down, and you open up the menu, and you have a choice between a hot dog, a Chuck E. Cheese pizza, or mac and cheese. You find out that the restaurant is now under new management, and the guy who is in the kitchen used to work for Chuck E. Cheese, and he only knows how to make Chuck E. Cheese type food. Okay, that's basically what happened to The Walking Dead. They were a pretty decent restaurant. You could pretty much count on what you were going to get every time you sat down and watched the freaking show. You knew there wasn't going to be shenanigans of what happened with Glenn's death. Okay, and you sat there and you ordered a meal anyway because you felt like it was going to be good, because you had faith, past performance with this restaurant, and they bring you a Chuck E. Cheese pizza, which is basically a frozen pizza that they warmed up in the oven.
I kind of go, no one's perfect, and believe me, in terms of how they handled the Glenn thing, I think they were far from perfect.
Well, yeah, but you see,
But I move on. Let me finish. At some point, I move on.
Oh no,
I either go, I'm done, and I'm not going to watch it, or I go, all right, and I move on.
well, I have moved on, but I have also moved on in the way I view the show, which is what they did. I've moved on to, okay, so you're going to pull shenanigans. Now I believe you can pull shenanigans, and I don't know if anybody's ever witnessed me tweeting during Under the Dome, but during the last episode of The Walking Dead, I was in Under the Dome mode, which is I hated everything I saw on the screen, but it's okay because everybody's going to survive, and everybody is stupid, and that's the way I'm going to handle The Walking Dead from now on.
So why would you watch it? Why would you watch it anymore?
Because I watched Under the Dome. You see, now I don't hate The Walking Dead the way I hated Under the Dome near the end, but I have become a conscientious objector as I watch the show, and because
I believe that's the first time I've ever heard that.
okay, and only because I can't believe what they're going to be showing me until, and even if they do go back on track where they get a little bit more honest in the way they tell the story, without pulling shenanigans, because the way you phrase it, the way they handled it, no, it's not the way they handled it. It's the way they portrayed the story, because everything they did was, everything they showed on TV, even before Glenn died, they showed him looking at the watch. They had him on the walkie-talkie talking to Rick, calling him a dumbass. All of those callbacks and things that they were doing was almost building up to, this is the end of Glenn. Let's do a final lap with him, So they did all of that stuff on purpose.
I just don't attach the level of umbrage that you clearly do to what happened here.
Well,
and again, I don't think it was, not their greatest moment, without a doubt.
Well, you see, the thing is, I don't watch that much TV. There's like 2 or 3 shows currently on TV that I watch now, and that was the one that I had confidence in that was not going to have any bullshit in it. And they put a whole lot of bullshit in it. And, it was, they let me down. I feel like they took me for granted. They insulted my intelligence, and they let me down. It's not every movie is going to be an Emmy not every show is going to be an Emmy winner. Not every movie is going to be an Oscar winner. But when you go to a movie that has Oscar nominations, or you expect to go and see a good movie, not that they've gotten Emmys or anything, like great awards, because I don't think anybody in the cast has won an award for anything. But you get used to a certain level. Your expectations are up here, and when a show lets you down, especially a show that hasn't let you down for 5 or 6 years, it hurts.
Okay, quick update from Twitter. Amy Figueroa, sorry that she missed the episode, but she wanted us to let us know that she's currently hiding under a dumpster.
Okay.
Alive. And so, good for Amy.
Okay, good for Amy. And she could fit with that big, fat, pregnant belly she's got, huh?
I will leave that commentary to you. I have I have. So, is there anything as fascinating as the Glenn stuff is? Anything else?
Um, I think.
Wait, hold on. Yes, man, and the chef whipped out another special. It was called the Morgan episode, and you didn't like that.
Supersized. It was supersized.
Supersized
It
it.
was
Supersized
90
it. Was a
minutes.
supersized episode of Morgan. I think we should have more of those. What do you think, guys?
Go ahead, Dylan.
If they are thinking of, once again, this is a big if because they always like change things up, but if they are aiming more towards following the comics, you're going to see a bigger amount of deaths coming up that are going to stick. And you're also going to get introduced to a bunch of really cool, interesting new characters. There's some that are being underutilized. Hopefully they'll be utilized up a bit better in the upcoming second half of the season. So in the end, I agree with everybody. I think the mid-season finale, I've grown accustomed to the fact that I really don't expect anything from them anymore because and you guys remember Snark Alec Radio a few years back when the governor was going to attack the jail and they're like saying all these people are going to die, and I'm sitting there predicting, this person, all these people are going to die, and then nobody dies.
Yeah.
I've got to the point where, you know what, I'm not expecting anybody to die anymore. Like when they're all saying who's going to die in the mid-season finale coming up, and I was like, nobody is. I'm saying that right now. Nobody's going to die.
One of the really interesting things that happened, and it's going to happen again. It's happened several times, and it's something that I'm not going to call bullshit on. But I remember when after Woodbury burnt down to the ground, and they brought everybody back to the prison. And, it's great the way they do it on AMC is they show you the last episode right before the new season starts. So you get to see that. And what happened was I was looking at all the people that were coming off the buses that they were bringing into the prison, and not one of those people were the people that were in the next episode, the opening of the next season. That was season 3, I think, going 2 into... Was it? No, it was 3 into 4. 3 into 4. So, I was looking at them, and it was just, whatever extras they had, those are the people that they had on the buses and stuff. And then, okay, next season we need some more red shirts. So, I'm gonna make a simple, soft prediction that at the beginning of this next half of the season, there's going to be some new red shirts that are going to be, filling in the crowd and stuff. And one of my predictions, I guess, is not going to come to fruition because I thought that Daryl was going to get that idea to use the fuel truck to cause a fire to attract the walkers away from Alexandria. But hey, guess what? There's a little bit more shenanigans because they put another cliffhanger, like I said earlier, into the Badlands with Sasha, Abraham, and Daryl, because that little teaser thing is basically, what's going to happen to Daryl? Well, yeah, he's not going to die there. Maybe he'll die later.
I'm just glad the Saviors are showing up because they're going to add, as Dylan pointed out, there's some serious stuff, and I really hope Negan has a white cat that he carries with him. And he's like,
what I want to know is there going to be a group of guys with baseball bats that go around everywhere on roller skates?
No.
Nope.
He's the only one that has the bat. He's the only one who has everything. So he's the god. He's the man. He's the savior.
But he's not. But he's Jesus.
No. Paul Monroe is from a different community.
Oh.
Paul Monroe is basically the Aaron of Hilltop for the most part, yeah. And will be introduced to, as maybe used it, a whole new bunch of redcoats in Hilltop.
Yeah, a ninja Aaron, because he's a heck of. He should be probably a pretty fun character. So there are some pretty cool characters coming up.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap this up, I just have one question for you guys, and this is more spoilers, people. Are they ever, because one of my earlier predictions was that in the second half of the season, I was thinking that they'd have to deal with the wolf problem. are they going to do they deal with that in the comics, or does it just kind of like
To,
go full to the wayside?
to be honest, Tony, the wolves aren't in the comic.
Ah,
The closest thing was, I forget the crew was. They were the ones. They were the impetus to get the horde to come to Alexandria. I forget
Yeah.
the name of it.
The
There was
stuff that were the scavengers or
or
something. I can't
something like
remember.
that. Yeah,
But
but
they
there was
were.
I have a theory though, and I shared this with I think I shared this with you, Kelly, or might not have. But down the line in the comics, there's after you get through the whole Negan and all the other stuff that's going on, there's a new bad guy coming up now who leads a group called the Whisperers. And I'm not going to get any more detail about that, but my big theory is I think that the wolves are going to disappear for a while, and they're going to reappear as the Whisperers because they've already got the W on their head. And the
Oh.
fact is, what the Whisperers do is along the lines of they're kind of crazy.
Well, that's wow. I hadn't even thought about. That's really impressive, Dylan. I hadn't thought about that because if you hear a little bit of the philosophy from the Wolf guy, where he talks about, hey, I'm saving you. We're all gonna die. It's reminiscent of some of the stuff that you'll probably hear from the Whisperers. So that's interesting. That could be it. The other kind of spoilery things is Sophia's dead in the comic.
No, in the show.
In the show. I'm sorry, she's dead in the show, alive in the comic. And I think you had we had exchanged some emails, and I think Dylan and I are both of the opinion that Enid is the new Sophia. So I mean, if Gimbel's trying to line it up, he's like, well, I can't get it exactly right, but okay, Glenn and Maggie are going to adopt somebody, so we may see a lot more of Enid. Yay! And
and she's the same age as Carl, and basically Sophia is the same age as Carl in the comics. So.
And there's a romantic interest, so they've got that. So it could all work out there. And then the big problem continues to be Andrea, because there's things down the road where Andrea plays some different roles. I think Andrea is going to be a composite of Michonne and Carol.
You don't think Jesse's going to hang around? I mean, she's a little bit different in the show than she is in the comics. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd want to, but I'm just saying.
I definitely would.
She's showing a bit more badassery with the gun and stuff like that. So.
And she's pretty nifty with a pair of scissors too.
Okay. So anyone who's watching who doesn't want what could be so it could be completely wrong, but there's also a chance that this is really right. I'm going to say something right now, and so if you don't really want to have potentially the first episode of the next part of this show ruined for you, I would leave now. So we'll stop there. Okay, Dylan. They had an awful lot of airtime on the axe Rick had. And when's the last time you saw Rick have an axe? And in the comic, Tony, when they're leaving the building and Sam becomes a problem, and Jesse tries to take care of him, and she kind of grabs Carl and won't let go of Carl, so Rick chops her hand off with an axe.
So that's in the comic, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it feels really set up with Rick. When's the last time you saw Rick with an axe? Of course, they could be just jerking with you too to kind of.
Well, again, they there was reports that people said that they saw Rick filming with a green screen hand, and this was after he got that little cut on his hand. But the funny thing is, like, if you actually look at the video, like the way the show was shot, he kind of puts his hand in like the way they all do. They use one hand to stiff arm the walker so they can bring the other hand back and do the headshot. So his hand goes in this way, but then after that he's constantly looking at the palm of his hand. But meanwhile, it's the top and the top of his hand, which is when you can call shenanigans there too if you want to. I'm not going to, but that was another teaser or a callback to the comic that Rick loses the hand, but he's got it taped up and there's no issue. But then again, we don't know because it's only been like 3 days.
They said one. Actually,
no. I think
got
it's
to be
3.
At least 2 or 3 because they've had at least one night, maybe 2 nights in there. I think.
Well, the first episode. It starts with Morgan showing up, so we'll call that, if you want to call that day 0. But the
Okay.
next day is when Rick is out with Morgan going to bury Ron's dad. But they don't bury him inside; they take him out to the woods. So we'll call that day one. Okay. Go back to the compound, and it's the next day when they're doing their walkthrough with the plan. Okay. That's episode 2 is the next day while they're outside doing their walkthrough. That's when the wolves come. Okay, that day is when Glenn goes under the dumpster, and then we see the moon come out while he's under the dumpster. So it's only been 3 days because it's the next
A few
day
days,
after.
yeah.
And also, Deanna does the stupidest stabbing of a zombie ever by stabbing him in the chest with the broken bottle.
Broken bottleneck, yes.
That
Trying
was
to
at
return
night
all
also.
of Spencer's stolen goodies.
Yeah.
So
But yeah. So I mean, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's maybe.
And maybe that's all it is just a bunch of callbacks to the comics, like the whole thing
Yeah.
about, is Carl going to lose his eye, you know?
yeah.
And that's a whole set of, and I was thinking too, I was getting drawn, I was like, here it comes, it's going to happen. It's like, no, it didn't happen.
Yeah. And I think they're doing stuff like that to kind of, I don't want to say play with the comic readers, but almost saying, hey, we could have done this, but we're not doing it. But saying, but
I think that's
acknowledging,
smart.
yeah, but acknowledging, hey, doing that Rick hand injury thing, have people going, oh crap, he's gonna lose that hand, and then him not lose
The
that.
axe was really effective because it had my full attention. I was like, Rick has an axe. I hope they're not going to follow the comic. And I do. I hope they don't follow the comic on this. I think I like the Jessie character. She seems kind of cool, and but they gave that axe way too much screen time. I was like, oh.
The one thing I'd love to see sometime, because the storyline they're doing now in the show is the No Way Out storyline from the comics, which takes place during a snowstorm. I would love to see a season in the winter, and I know we're not going to. We never will. But I think it would be kind of neat to see how it's different, the reactions of the characters are, and then the zombies themselves during the winter time, and how they're surviving in the apocalypse without the heat and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the winter. What else do you want to see, Dylan?
Well, Virginia, a little bit further down, I'd like to get to not Manassas, but you get a little further down there. There are some ski slopes down there.
Yeah, there we go. I do.
Well, yeah, but on a serious note, I'm just wondering how long they could keep this going. My own opinion is that they've got to find a way of staying in Alexandria, because if they lose this place too, it's just going to be more of the same, and it's getting a little bit tiring. Where, okay, is that the only thing that you've got? Is let's get to a place that looks like it's safe, and keep on doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, now we're out in the road for a little while. Oh, look, we found a place, and they think it's secure. And to tell you the truth, I said it back in the day, and I'll say it now. They didn't do enough at the prison to make the prison more secure. They never plugged the hole in the fence. I would have said, I don't give a shit. Let's clean out the whole prison. You didn't want anybody jumping out at you, unbeknownst. And you would think they would have learned from all of their experiences out there that what constitutes a safe place and what doesn't.
I think Tony, the way, if they're going the story arc that we're going in, I think Kelly agreed with me with this. They're going to be at Alexandria for quite a while, but it's going to not be quite the same Alexandria as we know now. It goes into a slightly different arc that gets, as Kelly mentioned before, also gets gets really darker.
Well, I mean, but one of my I'm going to call it a mini predictions was that you know, they really need to find a story for Eugene, and I don't know what his arc is, but he will find his niche. He will make himself useless, and we did find out that picking locks was well within his skill set. So I have a feeling that we're going to see Eugene make some contributions, and some of them might be kind of significant as far as making things better inside Alexandria. But he needs to grow a pair. You know, if you could take Morgan and meld him with Eugene, they would have the perfect guy almost. Someone that was smart enough to get things done, but not cowardly and not afraid to, be out there. He still has some of the best lines when he was out practicing with Rosita. He's like, "There's people here with open-toed shoes, and I'm swinging this machete around," and
He's
it's
he's
just
funny.
Cal, do you want to tell him about what Eugene does?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you can tell. In the comics,
You're on the money, kind of, Tony.
In the comics, he makes bullets. He finds a way to create bullets and make bullets so that they will have a constant source of armory. And Negan comes in and realizes that this guy is doing this, and he's going to try to have him do it for them. So it's not a big arc, and I don't know if they're going to go with that, but it's making bullets.
Yeah.
well.
And to Laura's point, he gets some too. So later, after the bullet factory.
Yes.
But the oh shoot, there was one other thing I wanted to.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh, just what did you guys think about him reading that world history book in the last episode? Because I agree with Tony. You guys got some of the best. He is a nice little comic point in it, kind of over the top, but still kind of fun. But that seemed like a real stretch. Any reaction?
I agree. It was a little out there, but I thought it was funny. In the middle of all this stuff happening, he's just sitting there, just chilling, reading a book about world history.
Yeah, I don't have, but I mean, like it took the girls, like, oh, we're trapped in here, and deciding, hey, let's get the hell out. But I just am curious as to how big Alexandria is supposed to be. Now, I've seen actual photographs of it, and it really is only about maybe 8 or 9 buildings, and I guess they have some really funky ways of shooting things at different angles. Like there's certain houses they shoot from certain angles, so hey, that's Deanna's house, and this is where Rick is living, and stuff. So they get creative with the angles that they're using. But it seemed like where the house where Morgan and Carol had the fight, where they're holding the wolf, that area of the town is pretty zombie free. It seemed at the time, but now my next thought was, and it's a little bit harder because of Alexandria and the walls, can't someone just get one of those cans and throw it outside and have that distract all the zombies and have them turn around and walk away? Because that could be all they need.
Absent a large hole in the wall right now.
Yeah. Okay, so now the breach question that I'd like your opinion on. Did that thing just fall? Because it seemed like they were showing that thing in the background, and there was like stuff falling off of it, and you could hear noise, and I don't know if it was the noise of Rick, what Rick was doing, like the sawing and stuff, if that was attracting zombies and they kind of pushed it over accidentally. But it almost seemed to me like they were showing it and pieces were falling off, and you were hearing noises like sawing, and then a piece would fall off, and then you'd hear noises and a piece would fall off, and then the thing was that sabotage? Or did that thing just come down? Does that play in the comics at all? I mean,
the walls breached with they started to get weaker, and the zombies were gathered around, and there wasn't a single tower that fell over that opened it up. It was they just eventually breached a little bit. My theory, I tweeted it that night, was that Enid did it. because she's a jerk, but probably not. So I'm gonna guess we are to assume, given the large number of zombies around, there were a bunch of them pushing on it, that somehow damaged its structural integrity, causing it to fall. But I don't, because I don't know how any bad guy could get in there in the current situation outside of Spencer, who apparently can repel zombies like water tension. But I think it was just the weight of the zombies. Dylan, did you?
You know what? I didn't hear any. Maybe I wasn't really paying much attention, but I didn't hear any sawing noises. Then pieces come off. I just thought it was just the general age of the building itself going through. Some old buildings. You get weather and stuff like that going on, and then the stuff that's been going on with the truck breaching the walls, and then the cord coming and just pressing against it. Eventually, it's going to weaken it. I mean, eventually, your structural imbalance is going to break down on you, and an apocalypse type thing.
Yeah, it may not necessarily have been sawing noises, but like there was definitely like noise of like wood crumbling or whatever. Like you heard like burp, burp, and then you'd see a plank fall off.
That could have just been its age, maybe the age. You always hear, in the movies, whenever you want to hear like a creaky house or whatever, something's going to happen. You're walking on, it's like Bill's attention. You're walking on the wood. It's going creak, creak. It's getting loud, and all of a sudden, slam! You fall through the wood.
But that wasn't a storyline in and of itself, as like the saboteurs, like maybe the wolves in there.
No, as I said, there was no saboteurs. It was just these scavengers or whatever. They were trying to take over Alexandria. Andrea shoots him, shoots the main guy, and they point all the other guns. They're like, oh shit, we're running away, and then that's it. But the gunfire was enough to draw the zombie horde that happened to be lingering around the town outside of this Alexandria, or part of Alexandria, as it were, because Alexandria, is fairly, a good-sized town. I mean, it's not just a neighborhood; it's buildings and stuff like that. So, and then they came, and then and I think it was they didn't have the plan to reroute them. They knew they were they knew they were safe behind the walls, and they would shoot them and take them off from the towers like that if anyone came close. But they weren't aware that I can remember that there was a huge horde, and they just sort of drew all of them to the thing, and it just came down on them. There was no sabotage on that end. No.
And so the kind of the rough arc is, so Rick and gang badasses come in. Here's how you need to do things here. You goofy little Alexandrians, we're tough and awesome, and deal with us. And while the Wolves were in the comics, they dealt with the scavengers. So they kind of clip off a group. They kind of handle the wolves. Maybe they're going to prevail over an entire zombie herd. Wouldn't that make you a little cocky? So they're kind of, they get to the point where they're like, yeah, we got this figured out. There's really nothing that can happen. And then something happens because they've underestimated the next guy, and he kind of says, yeah, I can be pretty bad too. And he pets his cat. Oh, I hope they do that.
That would be awesome.
Anything else? There's been some chatter here on Facebook, I noticed at the end.
On Facebook or on Twitter? I'm looking
Twitter.
Because apparently we did not read any of Holly's responses, and I am going to the list to see if
Holly said earlier she was blocked. She was wondering if she was blocked. She couldn't add any. I didn't.
She said that she couldn't add anything. Nobody's blocked. I don't have the ability to block anybody from posting. The only thing that would prevent you from posting, and here goes a little secret, at the end you have to put your name in there, and you have to include the @ symbol. Okay? So you could actually put shit@shit.com as your identifying name, and it will work. I asked for an email or a Twitter address, and the only thing that they have in common is the @ symbol. So you have to put an @ symbol in there. If you don't put an @ symbol in there, it doesn't work. If you don't do a rating 1 to 10, it won't work because the first question, the rating 1 to 10, you don't have to write a paragraph for your predictions, or you don't have to pick a character that's going to die, and you don't have to say what the worst or the best thing about season 6 was, but you have to give a number grade um, to the thing, and you have to put your name in there, and it has to have an at in it. So, Holly, you're not blocked. I don't have that ability to block anybody from posting anything just as long as that form is up there. I can't do that. So, sorry if you couldn't post.
Anything else, gentlemen, or should we blow this popsicle stand?
I'm done. Kelly kind of wanted to be out here at 10:30, which was 50 minutes ago, but I figured when you had to leave, you'd just go, and you stuck around. So thank you for sticking around. It's been fun. We've got to do this again tomorrow, 9 o'clock. We'll do this again, and we'll continue talking about The Walking Dead. You're gonna
What?
You,
What?
you,
What?
Yeah.
What?
you're not going to be available tomorrow?
No. No, I'm not. Friday, right?
Okay, so yeah, no, today is Friday for me. I'm not working tomorrow, but I still have to get up and take my daughter to school.
It's Z Nation Day, so I got to get all
Z
ready
Nation
for
done.
that. Yeah, boy, that show's really good. That's a show to talk about sometime.
Well, yeah, well,
not tonight.
Yeah. Is the finale?
No, actually, what they're doing is Z Nation, because it's so awesome, is not 13 episodes. It's 15. It's not going to have its finale till I think a little later down the line, from what I recall. I don't think it is.
Oh, so we've got more episodes.
I think we got at least 2 more episodes.
Excellent.
I think after tomorrow. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
That is awesome. All right, people, I'm going to say goodnight. Holly, I'm sorry you couldn't post for some reason. I'm going to leave that form up there. I've been able to post. I always test from my iPad and my phone, and I haven't had a problem logging in from any of my devices and making any submission. So I don't know why it's not letting you do it. I have no way of blocking anybody. I would not do that. Why would I block you, Holly? You're one of my #1 fans. Why would I do that? I don't. And it seems like nobody else had a problem. So the thing works. So anyway, good night until Dylan. Until when, Dylan?
It'll be the new year. Let me see. Let's just do a quick check real quick. January. The first Thursday is January 7th. Do you want to hit that?
The first Thursday is January 7th. Yeah, that's
It actually works out because the last birthday we did was Crunch Ops is on January 6th. So.
Okay. So the 7th, and The Walking Dead comes back the
14th, Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm.
After the Super Bowl, correct. Come on,
Yep.
calendar. Okay, so why when okay. All right, because that's January 7th is a Thursday. That's why I was confused.
Okay.
So February 14th, which is Valentine's Day, is a Sunday. Okay. Yeah, so unless something else big happens where we have to have a special edition of the SNEWS, we will be back next year with the first edition of 2016. Rocking in the new year.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Night.